Okay, so I think this smooth watercolor brush comes with Clip Studio. We're gonna duplicate it, call it something, and we are going to drag it here to create a new folder. First thing we're gonna do is create the alpha. So we're gonna make a new layer, we are going to set it to grayscale, and now we're going to make a circle. And now you're gonna do this zigzag here, something like this, and then do the same on the other side. Now this is good enough, but let's make it even better. We go to blur, motion blur, set the angle to 90 degrees, and then the strength to something like this. Something like this looks good. Now you go to edit, register material, image, use for brush tip shape, give it a name, and then put it in image material brush. Go back to the new brush we're making, settings, brush tip, material, and we import our brush. So this is how it looks, and you can see we have these weird spikes everywhere, and we really don't want that. We want the spikes to go in the beginning and in the end of our line. So to do that, we go to direction of line, and now it's more consistent. And the problem we have is that the angle has to be 90 degrees. And now we have this. Now we have this brush density. Remove the tilt because I don't really use that. And for pen pressure, what we're gonna do is we are going to ignore this area because we never want to press this hard while painting. So to ignore this area, we're just gonna flatten it out like this. Nothing happens here, nothing changes. Maybe pull this down a little bit so you have better control when it starts, and then when you press a little bit more, you get to 100% pretty fast. Now we go to brush size, and we don't want anything here. Brush size shouldn't change when you're painting. I have this demonstration where I paint a dog here, and you can see I'm only using big thick brushes, and yet I can get very good detail. I can be very precise with the shapes. Okay, next we go to ink. We don't want color mixing for now. And yeah, now we can see our brush properly. This is how it looks. We're gonna leave opacity like this without any pen pressure affecting it 100%. I can make very thin lines, I can make some medium lines, and I can make some very opaque, fully opaque lines. I can get to this without pressing hard at all. Like, it's not gonna hurt my hand if I wanna do this for a while. Okay, this part is done. You can actually use this to paint. We're going to go into much more depth on brushes, but if you just use this brush to paint, it's not bad at all. Like, it's gonna let you paint anything you want. And let's say I want to blend these two colors together here with just this brush. You're gonna see it's a bit difficult, like you keep getting this very heavy texture. Let's say you want to make it very smooth. Do you need another brush for that? No. All you need is to color pick. You color pick this shade and then you paint with it. And then you color pick this shade and you paint with it. And you can get a very smooth gradient. So already this simple brush is going to let you paint anything you want. And for now, let's turn the color mixing mode to blend. And let me very quickly explain what blend does. When we enable color mixing on blend, if you hold here, you're gonna see it gives you the color between the two colors. Like, it's gonna do this, and then if I click here, it's gonna do this again, and then here again, and here again. That's why I actually call this tool oil paint. Amount of paint, we don't want any pressure control, and we want to set this to 0. So we're not adding any color, we're just dragging colors that already exist, like so. Now, density of paint is not very important, it's quite situational, so I'm going to keep it at 0. And again, no pen pressure. For color stretch, we want to take this down to 10%. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna let us pull a color into the other color without being too dramatic about it. So this is what color stretch does. If color stretch is at 0, this is gonna happen. It just removes the control from you if it's at 0, so it should never be at 0. You don't want it to be very high, but 0 makes it a bit useless because I can't control where the color goes. It just blends. Like the orange goes into the yellow and there's nothing I can do to push it out of there. So this is infuriating. Just keep this at 10% and that will let you move the yellow where you want, move the orange where you want, so on. If you change the color stretch to 100, this is what's gonna happen. And again, this is what it happens at 0. So yeah, I hope that explains it. You want it at 10% for this particular brush. This is the oil painting brush. Now, the only limitation this brush has is that, again, it's not absolutely perfect for making smooth transitions, smooth gradients. So you can see, like, I kind of manage, but it's not smooth. Like, there's a lot of texture happening in this area and you don't want that. If you're painting skin, for example, you want it to be smooth or you want no texture. And for that, we're gonna make a new brush, which I'm gonna call Skin. Hero Skin, that's weird. So we have a skin brush. What we're gonna do with this one is simple. We're gonna change from this blend mode to running color. And this is what it does. Now, I noticed for some reason this one needs more color stretch. Like, say I'm trying to pull the black into the yellow, but... So I'm gonna change the color stretch to around, yeah, I think 30 is good. Okay, and my only problem here is that you can see these lines. So let's move this a bit lower, like so. Yeah. So yeah, this is the other brush. When you disable color mixing on this brush, I kind of want it to be more... do something like so. Alright, this lets you paint very soft stuff, like look here. Okay, now before we go to the final brush, let me show you how to switch very fast between color mixing on and color mixing off. You want to constantly be changing from this to this. So let's go. File, shortcut settings, and we're going to go to options, toggle color mixing. And you want to set this to a key that's easy. And then another thing is this one, on off watercolor border. You want to set this to a key as well. Now that you have those two hotkeys, you use the brush like this, and then you toggle color mixing, and then you blend, and then you use the brush, and then color mixing, and you blend, and you just keep doing this until you have what you want. Pretty straightforward. Now we also did some watercolor thing, and let's see what that does. I'll just press the hotkey that's associated with it, and this is what happens. Our brush gets something like an edge. If I go to border of watercolor, I like to reduce it to 1. I don't want it to be very visible, it just adds a bit of nice detail in some paintings. Then for the transparency effect, you kind of want it somewhere in the middle. For luminosity, pretty much the same. And then I would also recommend using this. But yeah, now you have two brushes. Let's do the last one. This one is going to be, let's call it mix. You're gonna see why. Now we enable color mixing, and we're going to change color stretch to 100. And we're gonna use the second running color. So we duplicated the skin to create this. And now what's gonna happen is we can drag all the colors like so. And you're gonna wonder now, is this useful? So you can basically make a painting just by dragging like so. And you can create various textures and you have really nice control over things. So yeah, we are done. These are the 3 brushes that I use all the time, and you can create anything with them. I hope you make nice stuff. Okay, next thing, let's talk about hotkeys a bit. So you go to File, Shortcut Settings, and now you go to Tools, and then to Brush, and then you scroll down until you find our folder. You set these brushes, each of them, to some very easily available, easy to remember keys like 1, 2, 3, for example. If they're overlapping, just delete other hotkeys. Okay. Now what you want to do next is go to File and Modifier Key Settings. So you want to go to Modifier Key Settings and then Control, Change to Temporarily, and then you click Settings and you select what tool you want to temporarily switch to. In this case, I want to switch to this eraser. You're free to use any eraser you like, but I think an eraser is very good to have. For Alt, you change to temporarily to the eyedropper. And then with Shift, I like to change the brush size. Let me show you how that works. Shift and drag, and you can change brush size without having to click on the brackets a million times or hold them until the brush becomes the right size, but then it's kind of not. You just have much more control when changing the brush size. You can select exactly the size you want, and that's pretty cool. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, whatever. If you have any questions, I'll always answer them. If you have suggestions for the channel, also leave them in the comments. Or if you just want to say hi, then yes, please. Okay, see you next time. I'm actually curious if there's other artists following me. Like, just feel free to drop your DeviantArt or whatever in the comments. I'll be here next week on Sunday with a Week in the Life episode, and maybe we'll make more tutorials in the future. I really hope you find this useful.